backdrop. That's the ASU campus, although I sit in the comfort of my home in Indianapolis. Virgil, thanks for joining. Appreciate you coming on camera and being so kind to show us your smile. Before we kick in and talk through this extra credit lecture, we are going to get to know each other a little bit. So I'm going to ask just a couple of students to tell me a couple of things, which is your year in school, your major, and why you took this course. Again, year in school, major, and why you took this course. We'll start with you, Virgil.
Hello. Okay, so I'm like a junior. I transferred after taking like a 10, 12-year hiatus from school. So I'm 33, so I just came back. So I've done like 2 years now almost. So I'm like junior-ish level, computer science. And I'm taking this course because it was one of the elective options that I could do. So I figured I would do this one because it seemed pretty interesting. Something that I could use in the future at least.
I promise you. Well, Virgil, first of all, thank you. And it's great to have you back after the hiatus. There's never a bad time to go back to school and learn and become a more intelligent, seasoned professional. I will tell you this course, you will apply a lot of this. I am 20 years into my career, and I promise you the things that are taught in this course, especially building a deck to tell a story, is one of the essential skills that every sort of professional uses, whether you're an engineer, whether you're in customer support, whether you're in marketing, whether you're in operations or logistics or supply chain. Very few people who achieve anything get away with it without building a deck to tell a story. So the skills you build here, I promise you, I've worked in 8 different industries and all these different companies of all sizes, and take it seriously because this skill is incredibly transferable and incredibly powerful. Jason, your year in school, your major, and why you took this course.
This is my second, well, I started in January 2024. I'm sorry, 2024. After a 25-year hiatus, I'm 47 right now. I've been an electrician for 25 years. Now I'm in a process specialist role, just like a engineering role. My major is electrical engineering. I've got a 2-year degree in electronic instrumentation. So I also have a side business of doing woodwork. I've done pretty good with it for the last few years, but I held off on that while I've been going to school.
Amazing. That is a wonderful story. Thank you, Jason. I think listening to Jason and Virgil, what it reminds me of, students, is when you get out into the world of work, not everyone's 22, 21 years old. You will work with 60-year-olds and you will work with 20-year-olds that are interns and brand new to this world. And you will all have to overcome your cultural and generational and background gaps and lack of understanding of the way the other people might see the world or see a problem in order to find consensus and solve problems. So it's great you're getting a look at that now with some students who have different backgrounds. When I was an undergrad, very rarely did we see more mature students. But I can promise you, I every day go to work with people in their 60s and I lead people that are in their 20s. And we all have to collaborate to get the job done. I'm going to reward people that are coming on camera. And Vita, I saw you come on camera, then you went away and disappeared. And Vita, please tell us your year in school, your major, and why you took this course.
My major is computer science, and I enrolled at ASU. I am enrolling in this course because it is one of the flexible courses.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us. We're very excited to have you here. I know the computer science and software world is rapidly changing with all this AI stuff that we're going to hit on briefly. And finally, Peter, we will also reward you for coming on camera. Thank you for being so brave and bold. Tell us your year in school, your major, and why you took this course. Peter Joseph. Oh, okay. I'm going to give you a second here to come off mute. We might not all be familiar with the Google suite. We'll come back to you, Peter. You might be having technical difficulties. Okay, lastly, Jonathan Layden.
Hello, can you hear me?
Sure can.
Hey, my name is Jonathan. I am currently a senior. Actually, this is my last class before I'm officially done. I was in Tempe last week, so I went ahead and did my ceremonies, but I'm looking forward to it. My major is software engineering, and I currently work for a software company doing software support. So I'm hoping that this will help propel me and give me the skills and tools in order to make that transition over into the development world within my company and my organization.
Good for you. What kind of software company are we talking about?
Public sector, it's Tyler Technologies. We are a national company. We have products and clients in all 50 states. I specifically work with property tax, but we do anything from courts and justice, finance, utility billing, payroll, human resources, mainly just working with the public sector, actually exclusively working with the public sector.
So Jonathan, you also do campground reservation software, and I used to work for Tyler myself just a couple of years ago.
Nice.
Very small
Awesome.
world.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, they're a great company, tremendous people, incredible products. If you're investing in the stock market, you guys should look at Tyler Technology. They have a tremendous position in serving the government. If you go in to get a new license plate, you go in to pull court documents, you go in to get a hunting license, a fishing license, you go in to get something from the county clerk, you go into the sheriff's office, all the back end software that makes all that stuff work, Tyler has a dominant position in all of that. And what Tyler's done really, really, really well, I saw it firsthand, and it's an incredible business lesson, is they have a handful of business development people that sit literally inside every government meeting in your state capital and just listen. And they just listen. And then when they hear about a new problem that the government has, the Tyler rep will go over to the government official running that meeting going, hey, I heard you're having problems having people apply for new environmental licenses to build data centers. We can automate that thing and do it at zero cost to you, and we'll just add a $17 per application fee. That will be how we make our money, and we'll build all the back-end software so that new people can build data centers. Right? So Tyler's so slick because they don't wait for the business. They listen to the problem the government has. They go to the government before anybody else has a chance to, and they say, we just heard you have this problem. We're pretty sure we can build a thing to solve it at zero cost to you. We'll charge the consumer or the taxpayer as part of the way we'll fund our work. I saw this firsthand when I worked for Tyler. It is an incredibly shrewd way to do business and get in front of demand and be very, very close to your customer. I live in downtown Indianapolis, and they literally have an office across the street from the state capitol. So Jonathan, put your head down and you do great work, because that is a tremendous company with essentially limitless potential for you to do great things. Excellent. So everyone, thank you for the introductions. We're now 8 minutes in, so we're going to get into the lecture because I know our time is valuable. I'm going to share my screen, jump right into it. We're going to try to make this thing 15 minutes at most. Do you all see my screen?
Yep.
Beautiful. Okay. We're here to talk about care. This is the first of the 7 C's. We're going to work through all 7 C's throughout this semester. All right, so this is where I struggle, students. It is now 9 minutes after and people are showing up. I'm going to let one more person in, but the rest I'm not, because we have to be on time. When we get to the world of work, we can't show up late all the time, which happens a lot in this course. Okay, so we're going to talk about care. But before we do that, we're going to talk about how we applied it at 3 companies I've worked for. So those 3 companies are Synovia, which was a telematics company here in Indianapolis, SoniQ, a temperature monitoring software provider, and Vestage, whose shirt I wear today to support the brand. That's a company I just recently left, and they do a tremendous job also doing telematics and safety cameras. That's me. I am Bryan Mitchell. I have been, you guys still seeing my screen? Okay, I thought I lost you there. I have been a professor, a lecturer here for about 4-5 semesters, for a couple years now, and I have a background in a lot of things. I was a journalist for a decade. I was a military officer for a decade in the reserves, and then I've been in software and marketing and communications for software companies for about a decade. So I'm the one who will be leading these lectures and bringing in guest lecturers. So over the course of the next 7 to 8 weeks, we will have a handful of guest lecturers, including Steve Vega, who started his own basketball academy, where he trains youth basketball players who have aspirations to play in the NBA. Abby Thompson, who I worked with in a former life at Rolls-Royce, who runs her own marketing company. Mike Simic, who I also worked with in a former life. He's a University of Michigan graduate, and he'll tell you all about it after they're tearing down the nets in the basketball championship. He runs his own consulting company, as well as he owns his own franchise that he'll tell you about on his entrepreneurial journey. And Kevin Brown, another former colleague of mine who runs a Chick-fil-A. And so all of these people are very successful in different branches of entrepreneurship. And so they're going to spend some time, 10, 15 minutes with you all, showing how the 7 C's apply to their business, whether it's consulting, marketing, running a basketball camp, or running a Chick-fil-A. Okay, so if you keep coming to these sessions, you're going to get a lot of knowledge, okay? A lot of real world knowledge. This is not just an extra credit session. It's a chance to learn from incredibly successful people. I like to think I've been very successful, and the 4 people I just showed you have done the entrepreneurial thing and have made good money, made a good life for themselves, being entrepreneurs. There's a lot to learn in the next several weeks. So care is the foundation of everything. And you know, this is one of those topics that we learn in life is very difficult to fake. I hope you all can see that I care about this group of students and every group of students actually taking something away from this lecture and from the series of lectures that I put together. You can hopefully hear it in my voice. You can see it in my eyes. You can hear it in my inflection. And as you spend time with people over days, weeks, months, and years at a company, it's very clear who cares. And it's also very clear who's going through the motion and doesn't care, right? And if your colleagues can tell, I promise you, your customers can tell. And so the common theme I've seen throughout business, and the reason it's the foundation of the 7 C's, is caring is where the whole thing starts. And if you don't genuinely care, not just about the money you're going to make, but about providing a genuine value through your product or service to your client, it will show. You might be able to fake somebody for a day, a week, a month, but if you work long enough in a role, people will sniff out who doesn't care. And so I like to think part of my success has been, whether it's at Synovia, SonicU, or Vestage, I've taken a genuine interest in the success of our clients, mainly because I just think I've been lucky enough to work for super interesting businesses who do cool work. And so I'm going to jump into each one of these and show you how I cared and how that was reflected in the work we did. Before we do that, though, I'd like to share in each of these lessons some what I call life/professional advice. You will be judged in the work that you do, in the way you behave in the society, mainly on the words that you choose, right? The words that you choose to put in an email, and especially the words that you choose to speak, whether it's in a formal or an informal setting. And there's no more powerful way to speak than to frame things around you versus I. This is a hard thing to do because most of us, most of the time, are thinking through the lens of, I need to do this, I need to accomplish that, I have to do this thing. I want this outcome. And so it takes a lot of work to reframe what you're doing and what you're saying to look through the lens of, what do you need? How can I serve you? What is in your interest? But I promise you, if you're intentional about this and execute it both in your written language and in your verbal communication, it will pay dividends. I think we all know this instinctively. No one likes to be around people that are always talking about themselves, that don't know how to, share the spotlight in a conversation. But even more so, it shows up in subtle ways in your language. So I will kick this off by just challenging all of you, especially when you're writing emails, when you have the chance to slow down and be deliberate, think about ways to frame things with you, the person you are addressing, versus I. Okay. That being said, how do we apply care in 3 different business settings? The first was a company called Synovia Solutions, which made a telematics solution, which is essentially GPS tracking for school buses. In the spring of 2020, which now seems like forever ago, and we all kind of lived through this horrible tragedy called the pandemic. And when that took place, there was this practice called contact tracing, which is essentially a fancy way of saying tracking the people who'd been infected with COVID and finding out who'd been around them and could be a carrier and further spread it. In the perspective of that, we had a product that was called student ridership. So you might have this or be familiar with it if any of you rode the school bus yourself in school, but it was essentially an ID card like your license or like your student ID, right? I have my IU ID that I used to check my daughter into school, and they have their ID, and students would check in and out of the school bus. This was one of our more high margin products that was difficult to install, difficult to service, and difficult to sell for those reasons. What we learned is one of our biggest customers bought this for the explicit reason of doing contact tracing. We did not position it as contact tracing. We at the company had never thought of it as an ability to do contact tracing. But we cared enough to ask the question and understand, hey, why did Palm Beach County all of a sudden just buy our most expensive product in the middle of a pandemic when everyone's kind of scared to make big purchases? We found out they did it to conduct contact tracing, to know who was on the bus with other students so they could inform parents and administrators when students were potentially infected with COVID. Because we cared enough to get to the bottom of the story and not just take the order, we were able to ask ourselves, well, goodness, if they want it for that, I bet a bunch of other people do. And then we had the wherewithal to go actually amend the software so that it would create a report that allowed administrators to quickly say exactly who was on the bus. They wouldn't have to go in and look at the roster. The roster would be like automatically produced for them every single day, and they could cross-check that with who was out sick. So we cared enough to find out why they bought it, and we cared enough to tweak our software to provide a new report that could help people do their jobs better. And in the course of doing that, we sold a lot of the product that we then rebranded as Bus Guardian. It was student ridership, but we rebranded it as Bus Guardian. And then we launched a whole campaign. You're looking at the press release that I put together here. But it all comes down to caring, right? And I say that because there's a lot of times in life that a situation like this, someone could have just taken the order for this and not gone the extra step to figure out why they took the order, what they were using it for, and then took the extra step to revamp our software to further satisfy that customer, right? We could have just let them have that product and let them do the hard work, but we went and cared enough to do the right thing and build a product that met their needs. This is what I mean when I say care, right? Here, we express caring at SonicU where we served largely the healthcare and life science market with a temperature monitoring solution. So what we did was took a little digital device, put it inside a fridge or freezer, kept the temperature, and then sent a alert to your phone or email if the temperature went out of spec. You'd be surprised how often in a hospital where they have drugs, plasma, blood, tissue, organs, vaccines, pharmaceuticals. I mean, there's like legion of product that are held under strict temperature control. How often that something becomes unplugged, or refrigerator breaks, or someone leaves a door open, or there's all these reasons why these very precious, very expensive items could be subject to going bad because the temperature went out of spec. We learned that there was the same problem in schools, right? And that, think about your school cafeteria, they had a lot of fridges and freezers that could also break, or they have the door left open, or the power could go out, or. But in order to be successful doing this, you have to care enough to go understand their unique problem and the way they see the world. So I spent the summer of 2023 talking to, I don't know, a dozen maybe school districts across the country, and going to their trade shows and understanding how they gather at their events and how they buy from other vendors in the same cafeteria, student nutrition industry. And then I was able to build the go-to-market plan. So you don't just take your product, repackages it, and say, here, school, buy what we sell to the nursing department at a hospital. You have to go and care enough to understand about their world to build your go-to-market plan. And that's what we were able to do. And what you see here is the website I built to sell that product. Again, the foundation of caring. It's easy just to go build a website. It's hard to go to the trade shows and go to the client's office and actually understand how they function in the real world and how they want to buy your product. Finally, Vestage, the shirt that I'm wearing, the company I just recently left, they sell safety cameras, otherwise known as dash cams. We call them safety cameras because we want to make safety kind of our main pillar that we sold against. What we found when we sold these cameras is that there was this incredible racket going on in which these organized gangs conduct these horrible bits of fraud in which they cause staged accidents for these big rigs in order to go after these insurance companies and get these 6, 7, sometimes even 8-figure payouts, right? So we built this safety camera and we deployed it initially to keep an eye on the driver for distracted driving, for falling asleep, for you driving with one hand, or for eating while they drive. So the camera could look both ways. It would look at the road and would look in at the driver. Only by going and talking to clients did you understand that the distracted driving was a tiny problem in contrast to people staging accidents, especially in certain parts of the country, Louisiana, New Jersey, Florida. There are very sophisticated rackets out there that are pulling this horrible trick where someone motions for the truck to come in and be able to merge into a lane, and then they purposely get in an accident. Obviously hugely dangerous. People die doing this. It's not to be taken lightly, but equally as horrible, it bankrupts a lot of these mom and pop trucking companies. And what we found is by using our cameras, they could have the evidence to show that was a staged accident. They were not driving unsafe. They were not doing anything illegal. And in fact, they might have even had someone motion them to come in, or the car in front of them might have slammed on the brakes out of nowhere when they're doing 70 miles an hour on the interstate and made an accident essentially unavoidable, right? And so you go in selling a product thinking that you're fighting against distracted driving, or people eating while they drive, or people driving with one hand, or potentially even falling asleep because they've been, working so hard and driving so long. And you uncover by talking to your client this much more pernicious problem that can cause a much bigger issue on the road. You know about multiple people being in accidents and not just the truck being at fault. So what we learned through all of these 3 examples is that you have to be constantly talking to your clients and caring about the world that they live in. Only by engaging with them, asking real questions, going to their office, doing ride-alongs, all those things will people tell you the problems that they're actually having, the problem that you're solving, you didn't even know you were solving, right? In the case of SonicU, it was about unexpected power outages in school cafeterias on the weekend when nobody was around. In the case of the big trucks here, it was about staged accidents, not distracted driving. And so this is all built in the foundation of caring, right? So we're going to get back now to the message I led with, which is, I think, hugely important. I'm going to do this in every one of our sessions, which is try to force yourself in written communication, especially, because then that will bleed into the way that you speak, to frame things around you. When you make the other person the center of your focus, you will be amazed at how many things go in your favor. So I just said a lot there. We went over by a few minutes, but hopefully you all found it engaging and helpful. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now and open it up for any questions before I let you all go. No questions. We got our extra credit. We're feeling good. Again, I'll leave you guys with the important message. If you're going to be successful in this world, you are going to build decks and tell stories. Build a great deck. Whether or not your business idea is the coolest one in this course, whether or not you're crazy about it, the idea that you can tell a story through a deck, that you can bring visuals and words together like I just did, and that you can speak to it for 12 to 15 minutes and hold people's attention will be a skill that will help you make more money, help you get promoted, help you live a better life. That's what education is all about, right? Is being able to make more money, feel good about yourself and your job, move up in the world, and contribute to the organizations you're part of. So I promise you, put your head down and do great work this semester. I'll be back next week. We've got a whole slate of great entrepreneurs, so you won't have to listen to my stories. You'll hear other great people tell other great stories of entrepreneurship. Until then, have a great week, Sun Devils.
Cool. Thank you so much, Ryan.
Thank
Thanks,
you all.
Brian.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.